Okay. This is our online Zoom dream group. And what we're doing now for the next 6 weeks is we're having the dream group leadership training for 2020. Okay. And we've had the first dream group. And these are the people in the training that are here present. And the dreamer is Joyce. Joyce, you want to introduce yourself? Say, I'm Joyce.
Hi, I'm Joyce, and I've been learning about how to work on dreams with Bill for almost 6 years. And it really helped me a lot. Not just, I first joined because I want to learn more about writing. I want to write a novel about dreams, but later I found that it's actually learn more about how to become a human being, how to become the person I want to become. And I learned a lot from that.
Okay, very good. And the dream group leader was Lisa. Lisa, do you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I've been learning the Ullman Dream Group from Bill for almost 10 years. I'm always enjoying being here. What Joyce said just remind me that at the beginning I joined the Dream Group. I was so lost, and being in the Dream Group and learning to discover myself from the dream is like it's like the second rebirth for me. Like I just woke up and I have a new me, that I have my own perception, not just the conditions that old me. I feel especially like alive afterwards, but I'm still on the road. I think the road to self-discovery is like can never end till I die, because I'm always changing. Yes.
Beautiful. And Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz. And so I've been working with dreams for about the last 13 years, which is when I first met Bill. And what Joyce and Lisa said just reminded me of my first dream group. And actually, I was one of those people who always used to think when people told me their dreams, it was really boring, which is kind of strange because, you know, I was a literature student, and so very used to kind of working with metaphors and kind of empathy for those things. But then as soon as I did the first dream group, yeah, my opinions totally changed, and it became one of the most valuable things that I'd ever encountered.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I didn't mention that Joyce is in Taipei, and Lisa is in Los Angeles, and Liz is in London, and I'm in Taichung in Taiwan. And so this is really an international dream group leadership training. And what we're doing now, we're just recording, we didn't record the confidential dream group, but we're just recording this. This is an appraisal of this is at the end when we appraise the leader. And there's a sequence, and the way Montague Ullman did it, first he'd ask the dream group leader, Lisa, to tell us how you feel you did. Appraise yourself. Self-appraisal.
Praise myself.
Appraise yourself.
Very hard. I feel very happy that Joyce got the dream eventually in the end. I feel in the very beginning, I'm sort of like we took a long time like clarify how the dream goes. I think that for that part is hard for me already because there are a lot of information over there, and then to the second part, I'm trying to participate, but at the same time, I want to lead, I want to respond, but my mind's going this way, and my lean part going this way, and then that's the part I'm got my headache, like got even worse. That part I got very lost, and eventually, because I'm not a dreamer, I'm not Joyce, and I don't know what the dream means, and I also want to take the part of the participant. I also wanted to bother leader. It's kind of a very heavy work to my brain right now. So I feel like the Joyce got the dream is the best news to my lady. Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to invite the members of the group that remain. We only have 2 members here left, or 3 actually, including me. To, if you want to come forward and give Lisa an appraisal. Now, don't just try to be nice, because I mean, we all know she did a good job, but really give an appraisal. She did this because she's a good leader, but she wants to become a better leader. And she actually said some things herself that, and so just be truthful. Who wants to speak up? Wait a minute, yeah, I'm sorry, not the dreamer. I guess the only one in the group is Liz. Okay, so Liz, you're the whole group now. So do speak up and give Lisa an appraisal, and then next we turn to the dreamer, which is Joyce. We have a very small selection here today, and then finally it's the leader of this Dream Group Leadership Training. Me, I'll say the final word. Okay.
The leader's leader.
So, Liz, you're next.
So I totally relate to what you said, Lisa, about that the difficulty is being the leader and a participant. And I don't think you can just be the leader, because as the leader, you kind of have to be the participant that's paying the best attention at the same time. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to follow the dream. And I've had the experience once of leading a group, and I lost the thread of the dream completely. It was very uncomfortable, even though we managed. And so I actually think you handle that really nicely, because I sometimes feel very under pressure in those moments to, like, well, what was the key point? What was the poignant moment to follow? But I think you're very good at relaxing that part of the process where you, and I'm going to use this, you kind of just reflect back the last things that were said, which I think always seem to open something more up. So I think you actually handle that really nicely, and it felt very natural and very, you let the dreamer know that you'd heard her throughout that part of the process. I agree the clarifying questions probably went on a bit long, but it's difficult. It's difficult to tell other people what to do, I think. So that's, you know, and actually when I had even though in the interview that I did with Bill, I said, oh, I feel like I'm mature enough now to be able to manage that, I still actually do struggle. And when I do say things, it sometimes comes across, like the actual wording that I use comes across very harshly. I hope that people trust that my feeling isn't harsh and I can make a joke out of it, but I'm like, yeah, no, you're not supposed to talk now, or something. It's a bit too direct. So I think that figuring out how to speak up is important. But also I think there are some personality and intercultural elements that can come in there, because one of my students actually did a study in universities of Asian students in a Western classroom, and Western people speak much sooner than Asian people do in terms of the way they've analysed it. So that's something to manage as well, that for you, taking an extra breath might be natural, but then you might find these like chatty Westerners, sort of obviously stereotypical, but might speak sooner than you realise, and then you can kind of lose the ability to intercept or interrupt in a way. But I don't think it was a problem, but it, you know, as you said, it went on a little bit long, and I think that's probably true. But I also feel like your way of being is very comfortable. It felt like very relaxed and calm and friendly, and safe. And it worked. I feel like the result of the dream group was really good today.
Okay, thank you very much. And next is the dreamer herself, Joyce.
Okay, so I find it very difficult to figure out how to, because the metaphor and feeling stage is like, sometimes we always feel like it's too long. So normally during our training, we'll try to cut it short, but I started to sort of realize that sometimes it has to be long, because it also takes time for other people when they're sharing, they need time to figure out what it means, and it just simply takes more time. Although it feels long and it feels like maybe it's not helping the dreamer, but sometimes it does help. Because for me, it's like I actually take a lot of notes that only comes at the later part of that stage, you know, comes later in the metaphor and feeling parts. Because people will first speak about their first instinct and their feeling about it, but after people start to throwing back question and a lot of ideas, they can come to create, that's when they can give you more deep thoughts. So I always find it's hard to say how long we should keep that time. So, but I think to me is that I think I wouldn't be able to figure out what this dream means if it's not you leading in a way, because to me, it's like you always lead the group in a very gentle way, so you wouldn't push the dreamer that much. But actually for this dream, it's like the real meaning doesn't come until the final sentence. But if we are actually, is for me working on this dream, I will try to squeeze the idea in the middle part and we are stuck there. But actually that's not where the meaning is hidden. The meaning, the whole meaning of the dream is hidden in the final sentence. But because you didn't push it and you didn't ask a lot of leading question, and you stop people from doing that, it gave me more time and chance to think about what it really means. And that's why I didn't have a chance to think about. So I think you did a really good job, and thank you for helping.
And did you feel safe during this? Did you feel safe during the? Okay.
Yeah, I felt pretty safe.
Always ask that question.
Can I add something in response to what Joyce said?
Yeah.
It just reminded me that when you did kind of raise with someone that they were not doing the process quite right, I think you did that really nicely. It felt very gentle to me and kind, and you really did get a nice balance. And also the opposite to what I was saying before, with regards, you know, having to catch people before things go on. I feel like the way that you give so much space is really important, and like Joyce said, that really made it work on a deep level.
Okay, very, very good.
Because for me, I feel sometimes I just feel I'm not doing anything. I want to do something, but I just let it cook there, and maybe it will there's something good come out, and actually something did come out. So
It's true, something.
That's a great metaphor.
Yeah.
Living it.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to go in the kitchen and make dinner for Shuyen when she comes home, and I'm not going to leave it cooked there. I'm going to be very busy, you know, in the kitchen, and so I have a few things to say. First of all, people, when we got to the clarifying question period, I think went way too long. Now, I think because you were a very good leader and you had the soft voice and the gentle manner, it's like Ullman said that a dream group leader is like a midwife. It's like Joyce was having a baby, and there you are, you're easing the baby out from between her legs, bringing the baby out softly. And because you were so good at it, Joyce had no problem. The meaning of the dream just came right out. You could have had someone who wasn't as good as Joyce, a dreamer. And when that happens, it does matter to save your time for the most important part of the process. And so I think the questions went on far too long, the clarifying questions, and clarifying the dream, because the dreamer actually told us a dream, and really quick she clarified what's important. That can be a very short stage. And also, people were asking about this and asking about that in all these unstructured ways. But the basic question is, what's real? You know, and also what feelings. And within that package, things come out in a more expeditious way. The questions, especially with a certain person, became so terribly specific, such specific questions. And an important function of the dreamer is as a timekeeper. And if you have a good dreamer like Joyce, and if you have a good dream group leader like you, that you can play with that. You know, you played with fire and you won. But it's really important to be a timekeeper. It's an important function. And the group members will keep asking questions until you stop them. Ullman said that the members of the group are like wild horses. They're just go off in their own direction. And you sort of have to rein them in and stop them. I felt that you were so nice that you're almost afraid to be harsh. Stop, you know, it's like it's a horrible thing to do. But it's not. It's good for the group and everything. And I think you must have had a sense when it was enough. And then trust your sense. Trust yourself. Okay. Now, in the game, when we did the feelings, one person came out, actually it was something that was more like an interpretation than a feeling. And actually it was one of our very best people in the group. It was Liz. And I didn't write down exactly what it was, but it was actually an interpretation. And I think when that happens, I think the leader should stop the person, no matter how good the person is, and no matter how right they are, because Liz was right, but it was an interpretation. It's really important to give the dreamer the chance to keep their mind open. The dreamer needs to be the one to make the first closure, so that we don't influence the dreamer. Now that didn't happen now, because everybody here in the group is so good. But this is a danger when you have people who aren't as good as we are, or as you are. Also, people kept repeating the same feelings in different words. So I think it's important, just to move on. And I'm sorry to pick out all these things, but these will make you better leader. You don't want me to say how pretty you are and how soft your voice is. All those things are pretty true, but you didn't call in those who were not participating. There were certain members who were not participating, were a good part of the dream group. Now, because we're online, we can do this. I even do it now in person, and I learned it in the classroom. So in the classroom, I actually ask each student to say something. And in the dream group, it's actually very important. I mean, the example I give is one where there was this little girl. I don't know if you were there that time. This was when the dream group was in the English corner at Chinan University. This little girl came in. The father called me up, can my daughter come to your dream group? I said, sure, sure. And in walks this elementary school student. And she didn't give an orchestration. And then I said to her, I said, don't you want to say something? She said, no, everybody already said what I want to say. And so I told her, I said, well, say it in your own words. And even if it's what everybody else said, say it in your own words. And sometimes that will strike the dreamer in a way that nobody else did. And she did that. And the dreamer immediately said, that's what my dream's about, you see. And so, so always call in those who are not participating, because even if they feel they have nothing to say, when they do say something, it's often something new or something special or something important. It's hard to do. We'll do this again and again over the years, you know, and it's hard online. Online is not so easy. Also with, from the metaphor to the dreamer's response took too long, I think. You know, I think that needs to be moved along. And the most important part of this process is the response, the context, and the playback. And even the response and the context can be very short, actually. The playback is the meat, you know. The orchestrations are wonderful, and you people did great, especially some of you really great orchestrations. That's not the meat of the process. Today it was, but it's not always the case. But the playback is always the meat. That's the dreamer's orchestration. You did, I remember you you did ask Yao Chuan to say something. So you did that, you know. Zing spoke up instead. Then Yao Chuan came in later. Some of the members, see, a certain member was trained with other groups and other processes and everything, and they went into too much detail like a scientist. We're not like this. It's not that important. So to know, like Liz says, to know which details to go into, that's important, and that's an intuitive thing. And also in the metaphor, Yao Chuan started analyzing the dream and interpreting it. Instead of a metaphor, it was an interpretation. And when that happens, you've got to stop it. Now that's you have to really pay attention to that. It's easy to miss it. And I can't emphasize how vulnerable a dreamer is when someone tells her an interpretation of her dream. And the whole reason for this process is to keep that out of our way. Don't let anybody come in and interpret the dreamer's dream. The dreamer herself. Yeah, when you and also when Lisa, when you tried to move on to a next stage, and a certain member of the group kept coming back with more and more questions, and you backed down. Now, this person was a bigger person than you, and it was a man, you know what I mean? But you're the dream group leader, and you have all the authority in the world, you know, and you can say no. You know, we have to move on. The most important part of the process is still ahead of us. So, you know, it's hard with a soft, gentle person like you. That's your strength, you know, and I don't want you to ruin your strength. That's your strength. Keep that. But also, now and then there's a time to be firm. And Um, but as soon as we got near the end, when everybody thought it's almost too near the end, the meaning of the dream started coming out. So you did a good job. And I think that your strength is more in what you don't do than what you do. It's like everybody said. You left space. You were quiet. You were gentle. You were not pushing. And my overall, like I said, I think you landed the plane. Like if there's an airplane that maybe the wing fell off, something horrible, a propeller's broken or whatever, and there's a thunderstorm and a typhoon, and you bring that plane in and you land it. So for whatever mistakes you made, they don't really matter because you landed the plane. I think you did land it. And I know I was deeply moved by this dream. Liz was deeply moved and touched. And I think the dreamer was as well. Maybe not. I don't know if maybe you touched us more than yourself, but you landed the plane. So, so you deserve our applause.
And I did feel that at the end. I did feel like clapping at the end of the dream group. I don't know what you thought, but that was an instinct I had at the end.
Yes, perfect. She landed the plane and then she brought out a lot of us to come out and say things. You made the dream group real. You made a space that was magic. And you often said in your interviews and in your earlier videos that the dream group was like a magical place for you or something like that. Well, you've succeeded in becoming a dream group leader because you can create that magical space. And even when there are flaws in your performance, everybody has flaws. I mean, if I'm thinking that next time I do this, I'm going to give myself a slot and I'll be a dream group leader. And you guys can all criticize me because you never get to criticize me. I'm sure I have more flaws than you do, many, many more. So you did a
This
great
could also
job.
offer you the opportunity to share a dream, Bill.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. Does anybody else want to say anything else before we close out? I guess we should give the dreamer the last word. Joyce, you want to say anything?
Thank you. I also feel it's like in the middle of the dream, I just feel just like you said, I feel I'm standing at the edge of a cliff or something. I can feel because there's a dreamer that I first met and I don't really know the dreamer, and so that has created a little bit pressure on myself, yeah, to see something new that I don't know. And thank you for all of you giving me some support and some like observation that I cannot see. Yeah, I feel there's so much to learn through the
There is a lot to learn.
process.
You're right. This is not an easy process to be a leader. And what you said something very touching about balancing being the dream group leader and participating in the dream work. And honest to God, I can't tell you how many times I pulled my hair out, because you're literally doing two different things at the same time. It's like doing one thing with your left hand and one thing with your right hand, different things. And it's not
But it is
easy.
difficult. As a participant, you can kind of bathe yourself in the feelings and what's going on. And I think that's where it's easier to follow along with what's going on in the dream. But when you're leading at the same time, you don't get to kind of wallow in the feelings as much because you've got your kind of intellectual mind working, thinking about systems and timekeeping and these other things. So I do think that is the biggest skill to develop, is to be existing in these two different ways of functioning at the same time, and I think it's really tricky.
You know, I
Really?
like what you said, because I really felt the weight off my shoulders having someone else lead the group. I mean, it was so much fun being in the dream group for a change, not having to think about time and this and that. Joyce, do you want to say
Yes.
something? You don't have to if you don't want to.
It's not like I don't want to. It's not like I don't have much to say. I just really glad that I get the meaning of this dream. But you're also right that I learned a lot from Lisa. I'm kind of nervous thinking that I should be the one who stop people asking questions and other things. I'm not sure I'm going to do it right. So I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, and it is interesting because it's all the same things, that everything that's come up in the conversation today, like I'm sure you're aware of like the bits where you had difficulties, and they're all of the same places that I feel I have difficulties when I lead a group. But it's a very different thing knowing something's not going quite right and managing to change that to make it go right. It's really like the awareness to the practice is, I guess that's what we're practicing.
Well, I want to thank you all very much, and also very much for staying at this. And we'll have 6 weeks more, and we'll see you all next week, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.